Hello, very different view today. After I put out my last video about taking a pause on decluttering, somehow that gave me the energy to start decluttering again. So you can kind of see my closet over here. Everything is in disarray, which is why we have a completely different angle going on today. Um, yeah, so it's a mess, but I am sort of back onto decluttering, which is going to bring me to a story that I have for today, because I did say that I would bring up a story about my father-in-law and downsizing and the 50, 60 years worth of stuff that we had to take care of. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do a little bit of knitting and try to tell you the story as literally, if that's a word, as possible, because when I tell stories, I have a tendency to go all over the place and not in orders. I will try my best to go in order as much as possible when I tell the story. So this story is a decluttering story, and it is adjacent, if you will, to my decluttering videos that talk about how your kids don't want your stuff and try not to get duplicates of things, etc., etc. So this starts back last January. Health issues, whatever. My in-laws decide they need to downsize. Okay, fine. Because the problem is that their house was on this very, very steep hill, which means that the steps to their house was also on a steep hill, and there was no flat way to get into the house, and it just made it really bad for, like, he had a pulmonary thing going on, and it made it hard to go up and down the stairs. He was in a wheelchair. You know, if you know, you know. So they're downsizing. So we, as we're looking for a place for them that's flat, affordable, and near the hospitals that they needed to go to, we're also packing up their stuff. Now, the woman that he was with at this time was his second wife, because the first wife had died. That is actually important to the story, because that's part of the reason why this house was in the disaster that it was in. So we started cleaning up this house, and you know, my husband is doing a lot of the necessary fixing that needs to be done when you sell, because, like, you know, there's certain things that even if you sell a house, I mean, they're going to sell the house as is, but the thing is that the more you make a house ready for market, the more cash you're going to get when you close on a house. That's just simple fact. So he's going through and trying to fix up whatever kind of needs fixing, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm doing all the packing, and I'm trying to go through their stuff and pack what they don't need right away, but they're going to need. And I'm also trying to pack away things that, like, could be given away to, like, Goodwill or other people, stuff like that. And this is when I found out just how bad it was. Now, my mother-in-law, the first wife, had a spending problem, which was bad because they did not have a lot of money, which, you know, this is why we need to budget, right? So they didn't have a lot of money, and she, I mean, okay, she was a, what's the word? Thrifty. She was a thrifty spender, but she was still a spender. So I start, let's talk about the kitchen. I go into the kitchen, right? And, you know, you have all these cabinets, and then there's also a couple of hutches full of stuff. I did not realize, oh my God, like the way the cabinets were set up, the corner one was very deep. So it went back like another foot or so after you opened the door, maybe even a foot and a half or something like that. So it was like deep. Actually, yeah, it was probably even 2 feet deep now that I think about it. It was, my point is, there was stuff in there that hadn't seen the light of day since it was probably used the first time or second time. So I must have pulled out, just in that cabinet alone, 3 different sets of Christmas mugs. And I'm talking full sets, like 10 mugs, you know, plates, blah, 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 just in that corner, okay? Then we've got a hutch that's got all her Gone with the Wind stuff or whatever. And underneath there's another 5 or 6 sets of Christmas plates and mugs. Why, pray tell, do we need, at this point, 9 sets of Christmas stuff that never got used, mind you? Okay, because I've been married to this man, my husband, 21 years. I ain't never seen one of those damn plates come out. None of those cups, nothing. And they every year they're buying more and more. Every couple of years buying another set. And I'm like, why are you not using? And yeah, this is judgy. I'm gonna judge. Sorry, it is what it is. But why are we not using the 9 sets you already have? Why are you buying more? Like, if you're not gonna use them, give them away. Or did you just completely forget that they were there? Because I guess that could be a thing too, right? Which is why you need to declutter on a regular basis, so that you know when you get to, like, maybe 5 sets of the same damn thing, or something similar, that you might want to go, okay, are we using this? If not, why not? If we're not using it, maybe we should give it away or sell it or something. That's just Christmas mugs. Okay, so now they were also crafters. So, and the daughter's involved in this too, because the daughter and her mom always went shopping together. And same spending habits, blah, 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 except the daughter, instead of saving her money, all of her paycheck would go into crafting supplies. And that's another story. But to tie it into this story, she lived in the basement. It was a somewhat furnished basement. Okay. And it's a long story as to why she lived there, but this woman was in her 50s at this point. She's still around. But every paycheck, since I've known her for 20 years, went into buying craft supplies. So you're talking a furnished basement room that's probably 20 by 30. Like, it's the whole set of it's almost the whole length of the house. Maybe a little bit. I would say it's at least 2/3 of the length of the house, that part of the basement. So it's pretty sizable. And it was just full. Like, there was barely a walkway, which, again, this is why you need to declutter, because if you don't even have a walkway, that's a safety hazard, okay? It's a fire hazard, it's a safety hazard, it's a pest control hazard, okay? This is why it's important to declutter. So just that space alone, full from top to bottom, full of craft stuff. And she was taking her time getting stuff out. Now, mind you, we didn't rush this. We started this process in January. The house sold in June. She had 5 whole months to get her stuff out. Barely made a dent. Rented 3 storage units. Okay? She's got 3 storage units, like the big ones, like the 10 by 12 or whatever size it is. Storage units full of her craft stuff and whatever. And that basement was still full of stuff. I'm not kidding. This is why it's important to declutter, because then someone else, me, has to go and take care of this stuff, right? Because she wasn't doing it. Obviously, my husband's father was not in the health to do it. He could just sit there and kind of point, but it's not like he could do anything physical. And then his second wife, she's 79 this year, so she was 78 last year. Could barely do anything, right? Okay. So I spend almost every single weekend going over there with boxes of things to either pack up for them for their home or to give away. And when I tell you that I must have made 20 trips to the donation center, I am not exaggerating. And there was still stuff left behind. Still. And this is why the house had to be as is, because there was no way we're going to get everything out. There's just no way. And then, so we had that. And then there was the office. The office had a bunch of supplies and blah, blah, blah. And then there were like clothing that was sitting there. They did reenacting. Him and the first wife did reenacting. Civil War reenacting. All that stuff was sitting there. Hadn't been used in at least 10 years. Why are we not giving it away to somebody else? It's not like they don't know other people who do reenacting. You could give it away. You could sell it. There are people who collect those things. No, I'm just saying they're taking up space. Declutter! Oh, then in the process of going through the cabinets in the kitchen, um, they were, I'm guessing she was a big supporter of buying as seen on TV types of things. I don't even know if they do that anymore. I mean, most people don't have TV, right? We all stream. But back in the day, I'm sure you can YouTube all this stuff. Um, you had as seen on TV, so you had all these gadgets and stuff that you can use, and some of them were pretty good. I actually have a not a dehumidifier, dehydrator that is like very old school, but it works, and it works pretty well, and I use it a lot. And that was one of those as seen on TV type of things. So I mean, these things, they were gimmicks, most of them, but she was a big supporter of that type of stuff. And there was just the way that there was a kitchen island type of thing that had cabinets on the bottom, and on the other side there was also cabinets, like cabinet space, full of stuff that I had never even known existed in the 20 years that I've been in the house. Declutter. If you don't even know what you have at this point, and you're buying more and buying more and buying similar things, and you keep going and going and going, and then somebody else has to go through your stuff. Meantime, as you're doing that, you don't have the money to do it, right? So you are wasting money that could have gone to paying your bills, because if you're on a struggle bus to pay your bills, there's part of your problem right there. You're constantly buying and rebuying and rebuying and rebuying and not using what you have, and then forgetting what you have. Okay? And then somebody else has to go through your stuff. And I will say, I'm pretty sure, and I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, any of that stuff. I'm sure some of this is mental. I wouldn't begin to tell you where to go with that. That is not my place. I'm just saying this is what it looks like on the other end for the people who have to take care of that stuff. So if you are of sound mind and you're watching this, please declutter your things. Go through those nooks and crannies that you haven't looked at in the last 15 years and see what's there before you go and buy another set of Christmas mugs or another set of plates or some whole set of Tupperware that you didn't need because, you know, your bottom cabinets have 20, 30 years of Tupperware and they're just sitting there collecting dust while you keep buying new ones. And the older ones are better. Let's just be honest. They're sturdier, better quality. And you're replacing it with crappier versions that are breaking and falling apart because that's how they're made now. Meanwhile, your budget is struggling. Come on. We got to put a little bit of thought into it. So if you're of sound mind, get somebody to help you if you need it. There's got to be somebody. And like, maybe they could use some of the stuff that, you know, you've got duplicates of or triplicates or quadruplets of. So that's part of my decluttering story for that. I hope you enjoyed my quick little decluttering story. There's so much more to that, but I'm trying to keep it at like 15 minutes. But I got plenty of stories. I got another one that's more on the hoarder side. My in-laws were not hoarders. They're definitely, it was close, but not there. When you get into hoarders, like hardcore, actually, the guy I want to tell you about, he was a hoarder, but it was on the lighter end. But with hoarding, you end up having pest issues as well. And that's a very serious issue. So, but the story, there was not a pest issue. It was just a lot of stuff. Yeah, I didn't even get into the basement yet. So maybe the part 2 of the story, we'll talk about the basement and all the stuff that was in there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and film part 2. I'm going to be the same clothes, same knitting thing. So I'll see you for the next video with part 2. Okay. Like and subscribe if you'd like. Talk to you later. Bye.